Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Mujibeda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Okay. So Mandukya Karika, we are at the very end of the third chapter. The verse 45 was presenting the last obstacle for our nididhyasana, or even upasana as well. We saw the obstacles of having a tamasic kind of mind that causes dozing or sleeping during meditation. We saw the extroverted mind with excess of rajoguna. We have seen the sattvic mind, which is also dangerous, which is the object of this 45 verse. Now we saw as well the kind of mind that is depressed due to some past traumas, let's say. This verse says one should not enjoy the happiness at that time when the mind is really sattvic, and one should remain detached from that happiness using one's discrimination. By proper effort, one should unite the tranquil mind with the Atma. This verse is so beautiful. I love it. It should not enjoy. I mean, you should never, get attached to that ananda of deep meditation. Just enjoy it a little bit. Why not? We enjoy a good meal. We enjoy so many things. Why not to enjoy a little bit peace, mental peace? But we are not here to just enjoy things that come and go. We are here to be properly established in our ever satisfied and happy and peaceful knowledge, self, by knowledge alone. So we can enjoy a little bit, tranquil and sattvic and joyful and blissful mind. Why not? But never get attached to it. Never believe that that is your goal. It's just more of mithya. It's more of Maya deceiving us, producing things that have a beginning, middle, and end, which offers us certain sensory satisfaction, because bliss is a sensory satisfaction. It happens in the mind and in the emotional body. One should remain detached from anything, any happiness that comes from some object. We need great discrimination. We need great dispassion as well, because to say, no, thank you, you are so beautiful, you are so wonderful, you are the greatest joy I have experienced in life, in this mithya world, but yet, thank you, I'm after something which is permanent. And then don't waste that tranquil sattvic mind. Take that mind and unite that mind with the verse of the Upanishads, with the teaching of the Upanishad that reveals your identity as the self, as consciousness of limitless nature. So unite the mind, the sattvic mind, with the Atma is not possible, because the mind, the Atma, the mind is the Atma. It's just the mind has to be brought again and again back to the scriptures of the Upanishads that reveal the true nature of the mind as the self, as the Atma. So we have seen, I couldn't resist to repeat this verse because I find it very beautiful. Verse 46, when the mind does not sleep and is not disturbed, again, then that motionless, projectionless mind has become Brahman. So it's the same thing I was just saying. The mind is Brahman, the mind is consciousness. When the mind is not only undisturbed, but it is brought back to this identity, to the declarations of identity, the remembrance of its true fundamental nature, free, when the mind does not sleep and it's not disturbed by much rajoguna, it is in a proper condition for gaining self-knowledge, then that motionless mind, which is not projecting anything, is a mind that has become Brahma. It has become Brahma only if it has assimilated the knowledge that the mind is consciousness, the mind is Brahman. No? Otherwise, the mind can be there, motionless, projectionless, enjoying this beautiful reflection of Brahman in the reflecting medium, so-called subtle body or mind. But the mind, when it's really in that motionless, projectionless state, needs to assimilate once for all the Aham Brahmasmi. I am of the nature of consciousness. I am Brahman as well. Everything is Brahman, but cats and dogs cannot understand that they are Brahman. The trees cannot understand they are Brahman, and the earth and the rocks cannot understand they are Brahman. So this universe seems to be project just for us to understand that Brahman is the only reality. No? So anything from you guys? The mind has become Brahman. It's just possible by understanding that the mind is Brahman. When we say that the jiva has become Brahman, the jiva did not turn into something else, because the jiva was already limitless consciousness in its true fundamental nature. The jiva is not a statement of arrogance or vanity of any sort. It's just to say the jiva has become Brahman. The jiva is just an appearance. All there is water. There are no waves, there is no ocean, there is only water appearing as waves and ocean. Ocean going for Ishwara, waves going for all Jivatmas, numberless Jivatmas. After successfully crossing over the 4 obstacles, the mind came to this nice state. It's now moving around. It's unwavering. There are no worldly thoughts. Then one can practice the 2 Vedanta lessons. The mind is anatma. The mind is mithya namarupa, like all other objects of the world. At that time, the mind also is understood as Brahman itself, because there is no mind separate from Brahman. There is no mind other than Brahman. So the mind is, in its substantial energy level, is anatma. It's just energy. But there is something to the mind which is to reflect the consciousness of the same nature of Brahman as original consciousness. So the mind in its material substantial energy level is just namarupa. It's a mithya, it's anatma, not the self. So this kind of statements, they may bring confusion to junior students, because after all, the mind is Brahman, or Brahman, the mind is Atma, the mind is anatma. The mind is anatma as a process of thoughts, with notions and concepts being obtained and so on. But fundamentally, what is behind this mind is free, limitless consciousness. So the mind is an Atma in its substantial, material, energetic, howsoever we want to say, nature, in its Mithya nature, the mind is an Atma. So it's just like any other object in this Mithya world. At that time, the mind also, which is an Atma, is understood as Atma. The Anatma, the mind which appears to be Anatma, understands its true, fundamental, essential, intrinsic nature as the Atma. No? And then what happened with the Anatma mind? The Anatma mind became Atma Brahman, Brahman Atma. No? Because it's not that it has transcended, it's just clear that piece of misunderstanding in regards to its true nature. And now we say that the mind, which is anatma, has become the Atma mind, or mind Atma, mind, yeah, whose nature is the Atma. And why? Because we say that reality is that which is the essential nature of anything. So we know the fire, it's the essential nature of the fire is heat, as we know. So we cannot have a cold fire. Now, if you take the heat of the fire, there is no fire. So the mind is there. If we take consciousness from the mind, there is no mind. Okay. So reality is just a search for the essential, intrinsic nature of things. And now we'll talk about a big thing, which is the cosmos, the universe, the apparent universe, and more specifically, the Jiva Atma. We want to know what is that which is the real. I mean, everybody has these thoughts in their mind, saying, what am I? Who am I? You know, so what's going on? Why am I here? So you want to know, you have to go all the way into the rabbit hole, as we say, you know, until you understand that the true nature of the mind is consciousness, non-dual consciousness, universal consciousness, limitless consciousness. Why? Because everything is just a superimposition. It's a Mithya superimposition in that which is limitless consciousness. Superimposition or reflection, howsoever we want to construct the analogy. So if everything is projected on the screen of a cinema hall, so everything is, of course, in reality, only the screen, no? Or the wall. But there is an appearance of many namarupas and a lot of movement as well. So, but everything is just the wall, everything is just the screen, everything is just consciousness, everything is just Brahman. There is nothing apart from Brahman. Therefore, the mind is Brahman. And why the relevance of trying to to search for the nature of the mind? Because it is in the mind that aham appears, which is the reflection of consciousness. I am, I exist. So conscious existence appears within the mind. It's very unique thought. I am, and I know that I am. I exist, and I know that I exist. It's a thought in relation to one's conscious existence. And then it's easier for us to trace the mind back to Brahman, trace the mind back to consciousness, because I could say, so who am I? I am my hands, and then I'm going to try to trace the hands back to my true fundamental free nature, and then very soon we'll say, no, I'm not my hands. I can do many things with my hands, but I'm not my hands. And then I'm not any part of this physical body, and then I'm going to look into the body-mind complex and so on, and my psychology, my emotions. And so we can travel through those levels of inquiry into the true nature of the Jiva Atma until we come to the mind. until we come to the mind. And then mind is a beautiful manifestation of consciousness. I like to refer it to as human consciousness. Yeah? So human consciousness, people all over the place say consciousness, consciousness. It's better to say mind or human consciousness. If you want to be a little fancy, just call it human consciousness, no? Not to call it just mind. That mind has a bad reputation. So therefore, lately I start calling it human consciousness. There is no mind other than Brahman. Brahman, the existence of the mind is seen as Namarupa, therefore its reality is negated. The only reality is Brahman. The origination of the mind is also negated because there is only Brahman, and Brahman cannot produce, originate anything. But Maya does produce, as we know, Maya produces something that appears to be there, but it's not real. It's as good as unreal. No? The appearance of the mind must be accepted. The origination of the mind or creation of the mind cannot be accepted. And the mind has become Brahman, meaning the mind is understood to be Brahman. There is no such a thing called the mind at all. There are just Namarupas. Verse 47, they declare this knowledge to be the highest ananda, which is based on the Atma, which is undisturbed ananda, which is coexistent with liberation, which is indescribable, which is unborn, which is the all-illuming consciousness, being identical with the never born or unborn Brahman, bornless Brahman. In the Yoga Shastra language, remaining absorbed in this alone is called samadhi. When you practice the meditation, it's called dharana. When the mind is going up and down, is dhyana. And when the mind is no longer distracted in regards to one's true nature, it's called samadhi. The combination of meditation is samadhi. Krishna gives an example here. So in this passage here, Swami Paramarthananda gives a discount to this concept that enlightenment or self-realization is samadhi, without elaborating much. But they declare this knowledge to be the highest ananda, which is based on the Atma. So what kind of ananda is this? So there are two levels of ananda in self-realization. One is experience the reflection of limitless consciousness in a pure sattvic mind, which somehow provides us with the fragrance of limitlessness. You understand? The mind is so quiet, the mind is so, and then this experience of bliss and peace, and among other things, is a wonderful ananda. No? They declare this knowledge to be the highest ananda. And now we're talking in terms of ananda that comes from knowledge. It's not just the experiential reflection, which is another beautiful indication that our true nature contains ananda, you know. So my neighbor is cooking up some food, you know. I was going to say barbecue, but maybe some of you are vegetarians. So my neighbor is cooked some Mexican fast food. And how do I know it? So the perfume of that food, the smell of that food, the aroma of that food came to me. Oh, wow, so good. I want to eat that as well. I'm going to visit my neighbors right at the time of lunch, you know, to see if they invite me. So likewise, we are doing our meditation, and then there is this incredible sense of limitlessness and peace and love and tranquility. It is likewise an indication that our true nature, which is consciousness, is somehow, you know, being sensed here, the perfume of limitless consciousness, the fragrance is dropping, it's overflowing to my meteor nature as the body-mind sense complex. No? But here it says, they, the rishis, declare that this knowledge is the highest ananda. So there is a distinction between the experiential ananda and the knowledge ananda. I don't remember if Swami Paramarthananda is going to elaborate on this from this angle at this, but there are some passage in the Gita towards the very end of the Gita, verse 16, 17, or 18, that this distinction is very nicely and minutiously unfolded. No? This experiential ananda that come and go, and this non-experiential ananda derived from Atmayana, it's this sense of peace and confidence that you are free from this world of pleasures and pains. So that is the highest ananda, okay? Which is not the experiential reflection of consciousness. This ananda, which is based on the Atma, it's based on the knowledge of my nature as the self, which is undisturbed. Any other state is going to be disturbed by anything. Any other reflection of consciousness in deep meditation is subject to Priya, Moda, and Pramoda, and we all know those states that the mind becomes more like, and then you say, wow, now I'm going to get enlightened, and then it starts coming down again. So the experiential ananda is disturbed. It's Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. It's not consistent. It has degrees, but this knowledge-based ananda is undisturbed, it's constant, it's coexisting with liberation, because it's the understanding that my true nature is free. You cannot be free if you are subject to time. Any experiential bliss is subject to time. Why? It has a beginning, a middle, an end. That does not establish anybody free, okay? Because it was a temporary sense of freedom, temporary sense of limitlessness. But here now, it's coexisting with liberation. You are fine and free because you understood, you got that knowledge, and the knowledge is that which once properly understood and assimilated, it's always available. It's indescribable. It's difficult to talk about this ananda, this knowledge-based ananda. It's difficult. People do not value it, They think, oh, this is just mental, this is just intellectual, And Ramji used to say it's a sense of confidence, strength and confidence. Swami Paramarthananda puts it in those terms as well. The fruits of self-knowledge is this mental strength, emotional strength, confidence, that you can deal with things of the material world. And you are living through the body-mind complex. You experience this world through your mind. Your mind has two aspects to itself. One is matter energy, the other is Atma. So since both aspects are intertwined to make you an experience entity, you need to be very discriminative about all the time, because the body-mind may go through certain experience, but you are free as consciousness, okay? So it is coexistent with constant liberation. You cannot describe it because it's inner sense of freedom and confidence that I'm free from this body-mind and I'm free from this world. It's undescribable, and then it's unborn. It means to say my true nature was never born. This body-mind sense complex, it just changes with every birth. Today I'm lean, yesterday I was so-and-so, in the future I may be, no, future, no, there is no future birth for lean and lean. Which is unborn and which is the all-illuming consciousness. Now he just puts things that the perspective that which is the all-illumining consciousness. And this consciousness is identical to Brahman, which was never born, will never die. So the yoga language remains remaining in that state of absorption in the self is called samadhi. Krishna gives an example in the Gita. A lamp protected from the wind does not tremble. This illustration is cited for the composed mind of the meditator who practiced contemplation on the self. So the mind was so calm. Nothing moves, no thoughts come into the mind, yet the mind is alert, okay? Gaudapada used aningana here. Gaudapada is closely following the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Very nice. We are there as well. We are doing the 6th chapter. So Gaudapada in this part here, he is extracting the teachings of the Gita. The meditator is absorbed in samadhi, abiding as his highest nature, turiya. That turiya is being talked about here. Since the meditator is abiding his own real nature, he himself is turiyam, and not Vishwa, Tejasa, and Pranya. So that's just go for what I already said. So once I claim my real nature, so I'm no longer the body-mind, because I claim my real nature as consciousness, as turiya. So the meditator abides in one's real nature, sitting in profound meditation, bringing up that Mahavakya, that mantra, Aham Brahmasmi, with all the supporting knowledge that holds it with firm conviction, abiding in one's real nature by knowledge, so makes the jiva Atma turiya or Brahman, rather than the 3 identities. In this Mandukya, we have the 3 experiencing entities plus the 4th factor, which is turiya, consciousness. So I have gone through the analysis of these 3 entities I experience in my day-to-day life, and I came to the conclusion that there is a common denominator through all these 3 jivas, 3 states, and that is consciousness. Now I have to understand that consciousness is of such a nature, and the 3 entities is of mithya nature. This turiya is always tranquil, that is associated with moksha, which is indescribable, highest non-experiential ananda. Here he brings non-experiential ananda. Is tranquil, is associated with moksha, which is undescribable, it's highest non-experiential ananda. A lot of people will say, I don't care for non-experiential ananda, I want the experiential ananda. Okay, no problem, go there. Be a yogi in the good term of the word, and try to develop that kind of skill to go into nirvikalpa samadhi. And if you are like, so just stay alert and develop savikalpa samadhi, keeping your intellect alert, and then maybe sooner than later you start understanding that in savikalpa samadhi you have your intellect at your disposal, and then you may extract the understanding of your true nature, which is moving away for the experiential ananda, and start to begin to establish yourself in a non-experiential ananda. This non-experiential ananda is Brahman, because Brahman is not an experiencing entity. The ultimate Jagada Karana and the illuminator of the three states and the three jivas, the environment and all lokas and all dimensions. Therefore, the meditator is Turiya, is Brahman, is consciousness. After practicing the samadhi, abhyasa, rupa, nididhyasana, it's a totally different kind of samadhi, as we know. We have seen this. It's a samadhi in which the mind remains alert, investigating, inquiring deeper into those statements of identity of the Jiva Atma. It's an effort, abhyasa, to go into a certain state of mind, in which you're going to bring forth those vrittis, nididhyasana vrittis. It should become so natural to me that even during word transaction, I should keep that vritti alive in my mind. Everything is only Turiya, Turiya, and Turiya alone. My Vishwa, Tejasa, when I dream, and my Prana, when I in deep sleep, are just different bodies to tap into different experiences that somehow is designed in the system. It must serve some purpose. And I trust the Lord who created this apparent order. But my true nature is what counts. My true nature is Turiya, my true nature is consciousness. If I have access to numberless bodies to experience numberless dimensions, who cares, It's enough to experience this order here, because my consciousness is as available here as it is in all other dimensions. And it seems that as a dreamer, I can't really recognize my nature. In deep sleep, there is total lack of sattva guna. I can't, but maybe there are some other dimensions in which my intellect is available to a certain extent that I can gain this knowledge. But all of this it becomes more and more distraction, because it's in here, in this realm, in this dimension, in this awakened state, that we have the intellect with all potential to recognize my true nature as consciousness is not the mind in those three states. I should not get attached to my Vishwa and the roles of the Vishwas, as we know. You keep doing your life. Life we live through our Vishwa in the awakened state, in the Vyavaharika. So we live our life, but deep inside, subconsciously, we have that certainty of understanding. This is called Sahaja Samadhi, Sahaja Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana, natural state, as I used to know it as before I came to Vedanta. I used to call the nature state, because I read it so many times over the decade, the nature state. And then I start seeing, maybe I start experiencing the nature state. Is just Sahaja Samadhi. Therefore, the remembrance of my true nature, Turiya, becomes natural. Krishna tells us in the Gita, I do everything. I look at my face, there is always a smile. Go through life with a smile. Remember that everything is a play. A happy person. I do everything, and look at my face, Arjuna. There is always a smile here. Therefore, stand up, smile, and fight. With this, Gaudapada completes the Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana. Now he concludes the entire third chapter with Upasanhara Sloka, with a verse totally dedicate to Upasana. Is only the last verse is on? I think so, yeah. It says that no jiva is born. This jiva has no cause. This Brahman is the absolute truth in which nothing is born. Nothing is really born in Brahman or from Brahman. The jiva was never born. Nothing has caused this apparent jiva to emerge. Everything is just mirage-like. It's a projection caused by the power of Maya. Nobody knows how Maya does this. Nobody knows exactly the purpose of creating plurality, creating sentient beings, and so on. But the fact is that nothing was created. The jiva was not created. The world was not created. No? But it appears and it's available as an appearance and available for interaction and experience. And then we need to understand that who is going to interact in this world. Now we can say, oh, it's all consciousness. Yes, but consciousness does not experience anything. It is the jiva Atma who is going to experience through this apparent reality, who is using an apparent body-mind complex. So, and then we, a incredible situation, the jiva Atma is just a mirage-like. It's an appearance, it's a projection, it's not real. But there is something real to the jiva Atma, which is the Atma of the jiva. Now, so, but the jiva Atma born out of ignorance believes that I am the body and the mind and the sense. So how is the jiva going to understand something which is real? We see something which is a mirage. How the projection of the waves produced by certain physical conditions, it could produce even sentient beings, let's say, how those beings which appear to be moving and doing things due to this incredible physical phenomenon, how could those beings discover that he's living in a false reality in which the only reality is the sand, the desert sand? So none of the, you see, it's very, very incredible, this point, because if jiva Atma is just a projection, an appearance, not really real, as matter and energy. Let's make an analogy and suppose that we see in a mirage there is somebody that bats in the water, in the mirage water. There is somebody that bats, enjoying, just for the sake of imagination. And then we'll say, okay, so this poor thing is not aware that it's just a projection. Maya is projecting all of this, So how can that poor thing there in the bathing in a mirage water in the desert discover that the only reality there is the desert sand? And all the rest is not real, you understand? If he's enjoying himself, he was suffering, searched, now he's enjoying. So that is the situation with the jiva Atma here. It's the thing never was created, was never born, never originated, the jiva was not originated, nothing exists here, it's just a projection of nama-rupas, produced by infinite numbers of configurations or compositions of the energies and the elements and so on. So none of this is real, but yet there is something real. What is something real here? In analogy with the mirage of the desert, what's real here is consciousness. So every analogy is limited, and the analogy of the sand in the mirage, water mirage always, is limited because the reality of the sand cannot be transferred to the apparent entity experience and enjoying the baths into the water mirage. Why? Because the sand is inert. The sand is inert. You understand? Therefore, this analogy is not going to help us to understand. And then how come this entity enjoy in the waters of this mirage? How come this entity does not discover reality? Because the reality is something which is inert with sand, and an inert sand cannot transfer knowledge of reality to another entity which fundamentally, essentially, not essential, but fundamentally is of the same order of the sand, because the sand is inert. But consciousness being the sand here, consciousness transfers a little bit of its true nature as conscious existence to the sentient beings. You understand? So that's why I would say Jiva Atma is a mix of matter and the spirit, consciousness and matter, energy. So because consciousness is the ground rather than the screen, rather than the mirror, which is inert, rather than the sand of the mirage of the desert, consciousness is pure consciousness. It contains the consciousness that is transferred to the sentient beings of this planet, of this cosmos. That's why Jivatma can get this knowledge, and Jivatma should have no conflicting understanding in which way this Jivatma is not real and in which way the Jivatma is the only reality, because the consciousness, which is the ground or the screen, is of the nature of consciousness. And consciousness is something that can be transferred for anything which contains a speck of consciousness, such as the mind of the Jivatma. It's human consciousness. Did you guys follow?
I loved your metaphor of the person splashing in a bath in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
It is really that pitiful. This whole thing is really just that pitiful.
Yeah.
It's something I'll think about for a while.
Yeah, and the main purpose of this analogy, the metaphor, is to help us to understand why Jivatma can claim its true nature, living in an order reality which is absolutely real. How we can claim our true nature? Because consciousness is transferred as the ground of this manifestation, or as the screen of consciousness. Everything that attaches itself to consciousness is borrowing conscious existence from consciousness. But more specific, the sentient beings, which are objects with a subtle body, they experience a slight reflection of this consciousness, which is enough to understand one's true nature. This is a very profound thing. I was never planning to draw this analogy. It just came. Shwara just developed it. And I'm going to write about that because it's very nice and very profound. The more you probe into the origination of the world, the intellect will get more and more disturbed. The appearance and the experience of this world is due to Maya, or avidya. These four lessons put together is conveying by one word, Advaitam. Of these four also, Gaudapada is highlighting the second one. The more you probe into the origination of the world, the intellect will get more and more disturbed with many unanswered unanswerable questions. Never ask the question, why did Bhagwan create the world? How did Maya, pulled off this projection that seems to be so real? Gaudapada's answer is that the world has never originated. Which world? And again, we go to the mirage in the desert, the oasis there, and you say, wow, so does it taste the same water? And so is the water polluted here? And how about this coconut tree? Let's taste it and so on. Let's analyze. And blah, blah, blah. How come it appeared here in the middle of the desert where there is no life at all? So you don't need to go into those inquiries because there is no ways, there is no creation. No? It's just an appearance in consciousness. It only appears to exist. This highlighting, the second point is called Ajati Vada. Jativada theory, the theory of origination, creation. Ajat is no creation, no origination, which is Gaudapada brought to us, is Ajati Vada. Gaudapada is famous for the lesson number 2, the origination of the world is to be negated. The fourth chapter also highlights Ajati Vada only and only. Do not ask why I was born. No jiva was born. No jiva was created. Oh, no, karma. So I wish I could have been born in a better planet, in a nice Satya Yuga, Satya Yuga. Everybody's happy and everybody loving and meditating and studying the scriptures. Never ask why me, why here, why I was born. Karma. None of this is relevant once you come to the ultimate reality. But before that, you have to learn about karma. You have to learn about Shwara, about Maya, about Jiva, and about Jagata. Everything we see, this apparent reality, needs to be understood clearly, in a way that we can develop certain mental qualifications to understand that there is no creation. You want to understand creation, not scientifically, not objectively. You want to understand how, first that there is a creator and there is a projection. This projection is due to a certain power called Maya. And then you understand that there are laws and principles operating in this field. And then you understand the most fundamental law of the universe manifest, which is causality, cause and effect, actions and its results. You have to understand everything. And then you go to understand karma in a very complex way, and then all of that you have to apply to one's life in its apparent order. And then all of that serves only to prepare the intellect to understand that, oh my God, it was all a projection. It's non-existent. As good as non-existent. Was never there. It was never created. I was never created. Just Namarupas are created just exactly like waves in the ocean. No world was born. Why? There is no Karana for the origination. No, but we heard that the Karana, the cause was Brahman. Brahman created the world. So no, there is no cause. Brahman cannot create anything, neither by multiplying itself, neither by divide. Brahman is one without the second, without any possibility of creating diversity or plurality. Okay? Even to divide, split itself, Brahman would need to have a scissor or something of the sort to start cutting. There is no source or cause for the origination of this beautiful, fascinating universe. The nature of Brahman is such that it cannot produce anything. because it cannot undergo any change to produce anything. Besides, we say that anything to be created, Gaudapada just finished with all possible arguments of a certain creation that came into play when he presents the fact that a creator must go through some sort of change in order to become something else or produce other things. Production of something involves undergoing change, and the statements of all Upanishads say Brahman is changeless, nirvikaraha, akarta, does not do anything. Therefore, Brahman is the most lazy. He would never have created this world. No, he creates without doing anything. Nobody can create without doing anything. The other part is really a pain, you know? It's Turiya and Brahman, the only reality, the only absolute reality. It's called Advaitam. In that Advaitam, Brahman, nothing is born, but everything appears. Things appear. That highest truth is Brahman, is Turiya. And then the most difficult thing is to say, I am that highest truth, because I understood that what I am is not the body, mind, sense complex. A lot of people say, I am the highest truth. If a Yanni says that, like Nisargadatta used to say, with such a power, such a, conviction, charisma, and then some people say, oh, maybe the guy is not just crazy, maybe he is the highest reality, But how so? The body-mind can never be said to be the highest truth or the highest reality. The body-mind sense complex. So any Yanni say, I am the highest truth, the highest reality, needs to explain itself or not to get into trouble, So I am the highest reality, and you and everything is the highest reality, but there is a superimposition of names, colors, and forms on that, which is the highest reality, because it's the only reality. If there are two realities, there will be a debate. Which one is high? There is only one. We say highest in comparison with this mithya apparent manifestation, But in truth, it's the only reality. It's more precisely the truth. I am the only reality, the only truth. With this, the third chapter, Advaita Prakaranam, is over. So it's such a beautiful few verses that it's difficult to say more. Those verses are good to be contemplated, very profoundly contemplate Nididhyasana over this 46, 47, 48 verse. How much more we need to have in terms of a field of mithya experience so that we can be satisfied, and then we begin to inquire into the nature of this order reality in which we find ourselves, experience with our ordinary body, mind, sense complex. Everybody wants to go into different order dimensions, it's just looking for more trouble, more distraction. The more you experience, the more intoxicated you're going to be by the power of Maya. You understand? We have had enough. So now we can search to find the true nature of reality here, the reality of the nature of God, the nature of Jagat, and nature of Jiva Atma. Everything occurs in consciousness. Nothing escapes consciousness. The most significant word, just going quickly through the summary here, is Advaitam. The chapter 3 is based on the Advaitam word, which is the synthesis, the most important aspects of the seventh verse, seventh mantra of the Mandukya. Yeah, Mandukya, and its 12 mantra. The seventh is the most important. It talks about Advaitam, Turiya. This Turiya could never produce anything not subject to change. All this chapter is focused on negation of creation. Brahman has not created anything, and then Maya has not created anything, but it does produce an apparent projection, a superimposition, which is better defined as manifestation or projection rather than creation. It comes into play due to Maya Shakti, and then it appears in the dream state as neither Shakti, and appears into this waking world as by the power of Maya Shakti. And this Maya Shakti produce something, but it's often referred to ignorance or avidya. Yeah. So it means to say that this world is kept so profoundly tangible and dense and apparently real due to this avidya, this ignorance of all jivatmas that keeps supporting, holding reality to this world. There are two things. One is Maya Shakti that projects the world, but as we know, Jiva Atmas are co-creators with Maya Shwara. So Maya is said to be ignorance because not only projects, but somehow it projects in such a way that Jivas cannot really see that the only reality is the water. They cannot see that the only reality is the desert sand, So, and then the attribution of reality to the oasis, the attribution of reality to the ocean, the attribute of reality to all names and forms of God, is going to hold this reality. So jivas work very hard. I mean, first, we don't know. I mean, Maya is the villain because it has created this projection in such a way that's so difficult. Even when Ishvara throws us the scriptures, very few people care for it, at least at this time we are living. And so what came from first, the projection of Maya or the ignorance of the jivas that ask Maya to project more of this apparent reality, So if we attribute reality to a certain thing, and then we are empowering Maya to bring more. And then this third chapter, we talk about Advaita Yanam, Advaita Yanam. So, and there are two unfoldments here. The moment that we call this universe a projection, which is there. And then we say the only way to undo this problem of ignorance, which is fundamentally, as we say, the cause of this universe is Maya plus ignorance of the jiva Atma. Okay? It's due to this ignorance. So we cannot see the snake as a rope, and then we're going to keep experience the snake. Yeah? So, and then we need to come to a point in which we accept that there is a creator, there is origination of the universe, okay? And this is the Dvaita Vedanta. Now, Dvaita Vedanta means the teachings in which there is a creator, and there is a created world, and there is a created jivas. Yeah? And then you're going to do what? You're going to do Dvaita Bhakti and Dvaita Upasana, okay? And Dvaita Nididhyasana, contemplation on the teachings that establish the relationship between the creator, creation, and creature. So the unfoldment here is that the sadhanas appear in all Upanishads as a means to remove the cause of the universe. What is the cause of universe? Ignorance. Ignorance of all jiva-atmas. And how are we going to cure this ignorance? We're going to have to become a devotee of the creator. But what creator? Yes, the apparent creator, the apparent devotee has to become a devotee of the apparent creator. And then you need to meditate upon this apparent creator. You know? So, and then we go through Dvaita Bhakti, Dvaita Upasana, Dvaita knowledge, until we come to Advaita Bhakti, Advaita Jnana, and Advaita knowledge. Huh? The Dvaita Bhakti is practiced in two levels. The first level is called Karma Yoga, and the second level is called Upasana Yoga. Very nice. When we are dealing with reality as duality, we see the fundamental plurality of creator, creation, and creature. And then we start doing sadhana to improve, to purify the body, mind, sense complex until we get enlightenment. In the beginning, it's presented like that. You're going to get enlightened. The first level is called Kama Yoga. The second is Upasana. The third, fourth, and fifth we know is Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. In Kama Yoga, the Bhagavan is to be worshipped, and I am the worshipper. The worshipped and the worship is duality, and it's present all through Kama Yoga. In Upasana, in Dvaita Upasana, Bhagavan is the object of meditation, and I am the meditator. The meditated and the meditator duality is present all through Upasana Yoga. This is appropriate initially for the junior students, as Lynn told us, but ultimately the Dvaita, Upasaka needs to become a Dvaita Upasaka. Otherwise, you are Kripana. What is this Kripana? I don't remember this. This will be introduced in the verse 1 and 2. Kripana is, you are totally incoherent, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Enough for today. I think we should look a little bit into the summary. What do you think? Because this chapter 3 is so profound, so beautiful. No? We go like this, quickly through it, extracting some more juice and knowledge. Okay, anything else?
This reminds me of a conversation Swami Vivekananda had with one of his disciples. And one of his disciples said, I understand all this is God. And Swami Vivekananda said, stop, that's incorrect. He said, what I said is God alone is, not all this is God.
That's very, very important point, because in the beginning we believe that God is a whole made out of parts, you know. But fundamentally, when we go into Advaita, and then we have to understand that God is one without parts, no? It's a whole without any part. There is only God. Yeah, very nicely. Very, very nicely remembered. Thank you, Mark. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. We meet tomorrow again. We move on with this summary here. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you.
Bye now.